part 3 of the endless driver tutorial. So we're going to go ahead and now return the car back to its original 0 degrees rotation. So we need to make a new event. And we're going to add, this is going to be a double condition. So we're going to say key pressed, and it's going to be, let's see, whoops. It's going to be key pressed and it's going to be left. It's going to be left. And the important thing here is we're going to invert the condition. So we're basically saying here when the left key is not pressed, okay, so that's what that means. And then you'll see that GDevelop puts in this little symbol here. That means that it's inverted. And then I'm going to go ahead and add a second condition. And we'll search for key pressed. And this time if the right key is not pressed. And then for the action, and they're basically saying here, this little warning here, they're making sure that both conditions are in the same event because they both have to be true. And we're going to just take this same action right here. So I'm going to right mouse click, copy, paste. And so I'm going to double click it. And we're going to make sure that it goes back to an angle of 0 degrees. And they're saying an angular speed of 90. So that's going to make it return back a little faster. So we'll say OK and save. OK, let's test that out. So left, right, and you can see it is returning when I let go. So that's pretty cool. Kind of gives a nice little swerving, fishtailing one there. So pretty happy with that. Okay, next is we're going to be adding in the traffic cars. And if you go ahead and read through this, it says that they are going to place the objects at a fixed Y position, so the vertical, and then they're going to do a random X position, so that's where they're going to be generated, and that's how we get sort of an endless effect. And we're going to be using a timer feature. All right, so we're going to go ahead and create, we're going to create a new section here. So I'm going to go ahead and add in a new comment. And we'll just call this traffic for now. And we'll add in a new event. Okay, so now we're going to start to use a, looks like a timer. And you need to give them specific names. They want to call this traffic timer, and it looks like we're going to need to be making sure we use quotes. Yep, and it is case sensitive, so make sure if you're using uppercase and lowercase letters that you do that. Okay, so we're going to add in a condition, and you can see that there's a timers and time category over here, and here it is, value of a scene timer. Okay, so they're saying 3.5, 3.5 time in seconds, and the timer name in quotes is going to be traffic timer. And there we go. Nothing else. And say OK. And save. Okay, so we've made a timer simply called traffic timer, and we gave it a default value of 3.5 seconds. So now they're basically saying that we need to start using variables, and we're going to use a scene variable. And remember that a variable just stores a value. It stores a number. And so to make a scene variable, we're going to go back here to the scene editor right here, And right here in an open spot of your scene, if you right mouse click, you'll see right here it says Scene Properties. And then you'll see we have a, let's see what their screenshot shows. So they've changed the background color to a green. That's how they're getting the whole grass color, so I might as well go ahead and do that. I'm going to choose that color green there, not quite as bright, and then click on Edit Scene Variables. Okay. All right, so they want us to create a new variable called car left, and remember that it is case sensitive, so notice the uppercase and lowercase letters. So I'll click on Add, car left. Let's see, are we getting a value? Okay, so there's no value, no default value over there on the right-hand side. And hit apply. Okay, so now that we've made a scene variable called car left, this is where I think we're going to get into some possible problems or errors here, possibly with the tutorial. We'll see. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and set the value of the scene variable. Okay, so we're now going to start, this is going to be spawning randomly our cars. And the cars are going to be spawning over here in the left 2 lanes. It looks like lane 1 and lane 2. And it's going to be the gray car and the blue car. This is going to be an action that goes along with our condition right here called traffic timer. So we're going to click on Add Action, and we're going to look for we're going to set the value of a scene variable. So if I search variable, right here, value of a scene variable, not a global variable, those are different, value of a scene variable. Maybe if I typed in scene, let's see, value of a scene variable, so there's quite a bit there. Okay, so we're going to set it up to car left. We only have one variable right now, car left. We're going to have to basically do all of this again and make another one called car right as well. Okay, so they're saying car left is equal or set to, and then this is where I think the tutorial makes a mistake. They're saying that we're going to put in a random expression. It's called random in range, and then you're setting up what's called a minimum and maximum integer. And so they're saying, give us a number, either 1 or 2. If it gives us the random number of 1, it's going to spawn a gray car. If it gives us a random number of 2, it's going to spawn a blue car in those different lanes. So it's either going to give us a 1 or a 2. Now here's where I think people go wrong. It looks like they have a space right here, and it looks like they have a space down here in the screenshot, but I don't think there should be a space. So let's go ahead and let's see. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to actually copy this text just to save time. So for here, for value, I'm just going to go ahead and paste that, and then open parentheses, and I'm going to do 1, 2, close parentheses. Notice that I did not use a space. Again, I might be wrong, but I think we need no space there. Okay, so if you're not reading the tutorial carefully, right here is where they basically say repeat all of the previous actions for car right. So we'll need to go back to our main scene, right mouse click, go to scene properties, edit the variables. It looks like it didn't change our color of our background, so that's a bummer. Okay, and I need to create a new one. Probably should have done this before. This is going to be car right. Hit apply. Good. I'm not sure why it's not taking my there we go. Okay, so maybe I just didn't press enough, but there's my green, and I've created my car right. Okay, so now I'm going to basically right mouse click and copy that one, and I'm going to paste it. And this time I'm going to change the scene variable. It's not going to be car left, it's going to be car right, and save. Okay, next they want us to add a reset to our traffic timer. And this basically, if you can see here in the screenshot, it's right here, reset the timer, traffic timer, and that's the third action. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to add an action, and let's search the term reset. So notice these two actions look almost identical. So is it reset a timer or reset a scene timer? It looks like it's reset the timer, but you can see here that the screenshot shows two different ones. Okay, so something that I discovered is you'll see that if you type in timer, you'll see that you get two here that look very similar, but you really have to look at these second line here that's in gray to kind of figure out which one it is. The other clue that you can use is look at the screenshot here. All they're doing here in the screenshot is they're just putting in the name of the timer that they want to reset, no other settings. And so if I click on this one here, it's asking me to choose an object. That's not what I want. So it has to be this one here, where all I'm doing is putting in a name. So that's kind of how you can figure out which of these is the correct one. So in this case, I'm going to start typing it in. I wish it would pop up, but unfortunately it doesn't. So this is where you do have to be careful and make sure that your spelling is correct. Uppercase, lowercase is correct, and make sure you use the quotes. Okay, so that's traffic timer is set to OK. Save, and let's press play. Okay. We have to assume it's doing it correctly because I haven't actually placed the cars in there yet. So we'll find out, I believe, in the next. Okay, so the last thing we need to do in this part, and this is going to be a little bit of a longer tutorial, I apologize, is we need to make what's called a sub-event. And that's kind of like a child event. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go back to GDevelop here, and we're going to make a sub-event here. So you can do that one of two ways. You can click creating a new event, and you can see it added it here, and then you can just click and drag it in. That's a nice, easy way of doing it. Or you can select this event right here, and then you can click on this button here, which adds in a sub-event right there. As long as you look at these blue bars here and it is a sub-event, it's coming in, then you did it just fine. Okay, so we want to check the value of a scene variable. So that's the condition. So we're going to say add a condition, and we're going to type in variable. We're going to search variable. And we want this one here, value of a scene variable. And they want it to be car left. Okay, so car left equals, and we're going to say 1. Okay, and again, I'm just following the screenshot right here. See if that works. Say OK. So if the value of the variable car left equals 1, which should mean the gray car, then the action is going to be to create a blue car at a certain location. So sorry, it's 1 means blue car, not gray car. Gray car is 2. Okay, so we're going to say create an object. So let's just type in search create an object, and it's going to be the blue car. And we're going to go ahead and type in these numbers here. And this is where I believe a lot of my students figured out that some of these numbers might be wrong. So we're going to say the x coordinate is 70. Let's try that and see if this works out. And they're saying the y position should be negative 500. We'll see about that. Okay. So again, we'll modify these numbers if we need to. I'm guessing we will. And we'll say okay. Okay, so now they're saying we need to do a similar sub-event for the gray condition. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and just going to go ahead and add another sub-event. Oops, and not a sub-event of this sub-event, so I have to drag that back out to the left. So it needs to be like this. And then I'm just going to go ahead and copy, paste, and then I'm going to, it's still car left. Okay, so it's still car left is equal to, but then the value is 2. So I'm just going to change this, and the value is now 2. So this is going to be working with our gray car, and we're going to copy that action, paste it, and this time it's going to be the gray car, and they're giving us these values here. They're saying 175 for the x, and they're saying negative 500 for the y. We shall see. Okay, so now we run into a little problem here. If you're reading along with the text exactly, the values, the numbers they give here are different than what's in the screenshots here. And so we have to figure out, which one of these is correct, and maybe neither of them is correct. So before we decide that, let's go ahead and finish getting our events figured out. So now we need to add in some sub-events here for the car right. And what these are doing is these are basically doing a random number of 1 or 2, and when they create a 1 or 2 value, they're then spawning the cars, blue, gray, green, or pink. And then they're spawning them at certain locations. So I'm going to go ahead and get back here. Okay, so now what I need is I need 2 more sub-events. So I'm going to click on my sub-event here, and I'm just going to say add new event, and you can see it made it a sub-event, and I'm going to make another one. Okay, so I've got my 2 sub-events here, and remember, if they don't spawn here as sub-events, you can just click and drag them in. Okay, so now I'm going to basically copy and paste, and I find that that makes it so much easier. So there's paste, and again I'll copy and paste. Okay, so now I need to change these. If you go back and look at the screenshot, they're set up to car right and car right. So I'll just click right here, change that to car right. Same thing here. Okay, and then copy and paste, copy and paste. Okay, so again, we have to change the cars. It's not the blue car. It's going to be, I believe, the green car. Let's double check. Green car and pink car, yes. Okay. And the pink car. Okay, and so their note I noticed that their values have changed here. So I'm going to go ahead and follow those and see how that turns out. Okay, so to finish this tutorial up, what I did was I basically copied the numbers here in the screenshot because I think these are correct. I think the author of this tutorial was writing the tutorial and put in the initial numbers, but then when they actually then built the game, maybe changed their mind and took a screenshot, and so I think these numbers are correct. What I did to check these numbers, and again I could be wrong, is that I came here and I took these numbers here. So for instance, the blue car is supposed to be at 70 and negative 160. So to test that out, I brought in the blue car, clicked on it, and typed in 70 and then negative 160. So to me it looks like 70 negative 160 puts it in lane 1 and it spawns it just right up here above the top of our game. So as the game starts, it'll look like the car is coming into the lane and then we have to then avoid it. And then I did the same thing with the gray car, and again on the x-axis it's supposed to be 175 and the y is supposed to be negative 160, so it's in the same spot. So those look correct, and then they'll both spawn up here out of the camera's view, and then they'll come into the scene, and then the red car can then dodge them. So I think that that's correct. So I would actually say follow the screenshot here with the values here. Now they're not moving. If I press play, nothing is set up to move yet. So we really can't test that yet. We sort of have to just trust that everything is going along fine. I'm going to end the tutorial here, and in the next tutorial we're going to start adding in the trees that will then spawn the trees on the left and the right hand side. So I'll see you in part 4.